had a job where you're disengaged, miserable, or stayed in the job longer than you should have? How many? Oh, just about everybody. You know, some people really love their jobs, and some people would rather have a root canal than go to work. Okay? I had a colleague the other day. She was so excited to go to the dentist instead of going to work. I thought she wanted a trip to Disney World. I mean, she was excited. And according to the 2013 Gallup poll on the state of the American workforce, 30% of the American workforce was totally engaged in a job and they loved it. 50% were disengaged in a job. They'll do the job, but no extra effort. And the last 20% were actively disengaged in their job and were truly unhappy and tremendously unproductive. That makes 70% of the workforce is disengaged or actively disengaged. That's a huge number, a terrible state of affairs. And when you're disengaged, you tend to feel disempowered, stressed, trapped, hopeless, depressed, unhappy, and just plain miserable. Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, welcome guests, I'm assuming welcome guests. The feminist Rita Mae Brown said, "Life's too short to be miserable." And I agree with her. Because during a recession, you might have been disengaged or actively disengaged from your job because you had an incompetent boss and you tolerated it. You may have been working in a dysfunctional office culture that made House of Cards seem like Disneyland, but you tolerated it. You may have felt that you were undervalued and underpaid, and you tolerated it. And the reason you tolerated it is because it was a recession, and you might have felt lucky that you just had a job. But however, in your heart, you might have felt like you were a rose planted in the desert, stressing over the heat of the sun, not getting watered, not growing roots, not being valued for who you are or the contributions you made. But fellow Toastmasters, times are changing. If you feel like a rose, you need to plant yourself in a new garden so that you can get watered, you can grow roots, you can blossom and be valued for who you are and the contributions you can make. Because otherwise, when you do, you'll realize life is too short to be that rose in a desert. Okay? Or maybe in your heart you feel like a rock star. Okay? If you feel like a rock star, sorry. When you feel like a rock star, when you started your job, you felt like a rock star. Your boss told you you were a rock star, but now she treats you like a caveman, and you tolerate it. You used to go to work as a rock star, and the vibe was Bruce Springsteen and the Rolling Stones. Now you go to work, and the vibe's more like Barry Manilow and Kenny G, and you tolerate it. But fellow Toastmasters, times are changing. If you feel like you're a rock star in your heart, you need to find a new venue where rock and roll never dies. Because when you do, you'll realize life's too short to be a rock star working in an office with a Barry Manilow and Kenny G vibe. So if you feel like you're a rose or a rock star, I have some great news for you. The recession is over. According to the Wall Street Journal, last month, there were over 5 million jobs available, and that number is growing. There's 1.7 applicants for each open position, and that ratio is shrinking. The unemployment rate is 5.7% and trending downwards. The real kicker is that last month, 2.8 million Americans quit their jobs on their own volition because they either had a new job or they were confident in getting a new job. And that is at an all-time high. And finally, baby boomers, many with big fat 401ks, are going to be retiring in huge numbers. And when they do, it's going to open up more jobs. Now, it's going to open up even more jobs over the next 5 to 10 years. And pretty soon even McDonald's will give you a $10,000 bonus just to get a job. Okay? Because times are changing. So if you're among the 30% who are actively engaged and love their job, congratulations, I'm happy for you. However, if you're among the 70% who are disengaged or actively disengaged, you need to realize the recession is over. And if you feel like that rose, you need to plant yourself in a new garden and you need to blossom. If you feel like you're a rock star, you need to find a new venue where rock and roll never dies. Because only then will you reach that state of the 30% who are happy and engaged in your job, and you'll eat better, you'll sleep better, your life will be better, and then you'll reflect on your life and ask yourself, why did I ever tolerate a bad work experience? Why did I tolerate that bad boss, that bad office culture? The feeling of being undervalued and underpaid. You'll look back on that and you'll kiss that miserable experience goodbye. You'll kiss that miserable job goodbye. And when you do that, the words will resonate even more of that iconic song of the late Johnny Paycheck. Take this job and shove it. I ain't working here no more. And those words will resonate because you'll have realized life's too short to be miserable 8 hours a day. Madam Toastmaster.